Look at that. And all of the minecarts are launched and then returned very nicely in the same spot. This is a train station in Minecraft. It gets a bunch of rails and a bunch of minecarts and sets them equidistant from each other. And then it sends them on their way using a little ticket system. So you put the item that represents where you want your train to go in here. You send it along on its merry way, and then it reaches its destination, which, if you haven't guessed, can be farther away than this. I just want to give a really quick shout out to Hi, I'm CC for building the original version of the train station. This is a design that he designed that works on the Java edition. I did have to make a few modifications for Bedrock edition, but credit for the original design and idea does go right over here. So go ahead, check him out if you want to learn more about train things on Java edition. Before we begin the actual tutorial, something that I should note is that if you want to have the minecarts leave and then come back from the opposite side, so let's say the right over here, that is something that you can do. It's very possible. You will just need to flip everything that I'm showing in the tutorial the other direction, with the exception of these hopper lines right here. But up here we have a hopper line going into the chest, and the rails simply going up here and avoiding the entirety of the hopper line and just going over a few of the hoppers like this. Everything else should work if placed in the opposite orientation. This train station also comes with a safety feature that it cannot be launched unless there is an item inside the minecart with chest, which is what the comparator detects back here and then sends into this signal right here. Now that an item has been placed into the chest minecart, it will allow us to leave. This item will be your destination selector, which can be used with the remainder of your train system, if you have it set up that way. All you will need to do is hop in the minecart, make sure you have an item, ideally your destination, inside of this hopper minecart, and you can send it off. All of your minecarts will be timed to go with you, and you will arrive at your destination. The chest minecart gets taken to a separate track, where all of its extra items are removed, such as this red concrete. Ideally, your train system doesn't have any extra items once it comes to its destination, but just in case it does, we have this little collection system right here. The chest minecart then gets funneled into this hopper, which then eventually leads to this dispenser, which allows those chest minecarts right there to continually refuel themselves. If the dispenser ever runs out of chest minecarts, you will need to manually place one right there, and then refill the dispenser with minecarts. This will be the outline for the train station. This is 45 blocks wide, and it is 12 blocks long. In addition to this, you are going to need at least 6 blocks of room above the railway, and at least 3 blocks below. But of course, within the outline. The first thing you want to do is make a space that is 4 blocks wide and 33 blocks long. This space is going to be the space out of your train station, which is the front-facing space. For example, if you build it in the nether, on top of some netherrack like I've done here, this would be a good layout if you had 2 nether portals next to each other like so. So go ahead and start and make that 33 wide by 4 long space. Once you have designated that area, go ahead and extend this by 12 blocks this direction. Now on the second to last block of the 33 in a row, so on the 32 in a row, go ahead and bring this outline to a close and finish the rectangle like so. What I've done here is I've went ahead and placed red concrete, since I will be using red concrete to build the station. And I've just went ahead and placed it on the floor in a pattern like this, because this will be the floor of the station that is visible when you will be entering and exiting it. Back here there will be machines hidden by a wall, and this is of course the train launch pad that we will go to in a moment. So if you'd like, go ahead and use your decoration block of choice and fill in this area right here, as it will be what is visible. It may be helpful to have this markings to have somewhere to reference off of as we start building the train station. So the first thing we want to do is we want to come over to this corner right here and place your decoration block of choice, or a mixture of blocks if you want to design it that way as well. And we're just going to place a whole line of blocks all the way until we match right here. The next thing we are going to want to do is come to the corner in front of it right here, like this, and place a solid block here. And we are going to place a solid block every 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And go ahead and do this until you reach the end of the row. When you get finished, it should look something like this, with the 2 in the gap right before the end of your station. The next thing that we are going to want to do is we're going to start at the block on the right of each of these blocks and just place in a stair, like so. And do this all the way down. Now, when you get done, there should be a stair right up against this block right here. For this last block right here, we are going to want to break out this block and place in a upper slab. I know there's some mysterious blocks which have appeared, but do really quickly make sure that this block is also a slab. That will be important for later. And go ahead and finish by placing one right there. Next, place a temporary solid block right there. Place one on the back. Break the temporary block, and just extend this row and place this line all the way to the end, but one further than this block right here. Place 2 powered rails in front of the solid block and stairs, like so, going all the way down the line. The next thing you're going to want to do is place a powered rail, a detector rail, and a regular rail in this formation, going all the way down the line. But we're also going to place a regular rail, or any rail if you're choosing, right here, and then we're going to break it immediately after, so that the rail stays in this diagonal format right here. So place a regular rail, a powered rail, a detector rail, and then any other rail to make it look just like that. And go ahead and do that down the whole line right here. Once you get done, make sure that all of your regular rails are facing either this direction or that direction, and that they are not flat like this. So it may require you to break and replace them. The next thing that you are going to want to do is place a solid block behind every one of the rails, and 2 glass blocks in between them, like so. This will make sure that longer mobs do not suffocate when they are in minecarts in this position. And go ahead and do that the entire way down the line. Once you get to the final spot right here, you can just place in some solid blocks to fill it up. You do not need glass, as this spot in the front is designed for whoever is putting in the destination for the train. So this front spot will need to be a player. The next thing you are going to want to do is take your solid blocks and place them in these positions right here, like so. And then place one right here, and then one right there. Go ahead and place one right there as well, and also right there. Alright, the next thing you're going to want to do is break out this solid block right here, place another detector rail like so, place a regular rail like this, and make this match just like the others right over there. Go ahead and place a lever right here on the back to power these rails. We will get to powering the rest of these rails a little later on in the tutorial. The next thing you're going to want to do is break out this solid block right here, place a redstone torch right there, dig out this one block right here, Place a comparator facing into a solid block right there. Place a repeater facing out of this solid block on 4 ticks. Place a repeater facing into this solid block. And then go ahead and extend this line of redstone into a little comparator pulse extender right over here. The next thing that we're going to want to do is make this redstone line extend over here and go in this hole and end right here. And then we are also going to want to place a detector rail right there. The next thing we are going to want to do is place a solid block right there. Next we are going to place a redstone dust right here, dig out this block right here, and place a redstone dust right there as well. The next thing that we are going to do is dig out right down here, place another piece of redstone dust right there, come on back down here, and now we are going to dig out 3 blocks right here. This line should be dug 3 blocks deep all the way until 2 blocks away from the outline, so 3 blocks away from the edge of the build. This will be as far as you will need to go. The next step is to make this underground area go 3 blocks back. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Be careful of these blocks right here, as we have already placed them and we do not want to break them. So make the outline go 3 blocks back, including these guys right here. So just make sure this goes all the way until the end of the line. Now that we have this outline going nice and mesh with this redstone line right here, we are going to extend it 2 blocks further on the lower 2 right here. And we are going to break these 3 blocks, as well as these 2 blocks right here. And the next thing we will need to do is just extend this redstone line right here, all the way along the back of this. Now, redstone doesn't travel that far, so what we will also need to do is place a lever right here to see how far it goes. And then we're going to need to replace a repeater right there. But go ahead and place this repeater 1 back, since we will need to line up some redstone underneath this slab thrower later. So go ahead and place this repeater 1 block back, place this redstone line, and place another repeater right here, so that it reaches all the way back at the end. We're going to place a repeater, a redstone dust, a regular block right there, as well as a regular block above the repeater. Go ahead and do this underneath every single upper slab. Also include the end right here, even though this is not a slab. Go ahead and place the block right here, and the redstone dust right here, and go and do that for every single one in between. A really easy way to place the block right here is to shift and then click on the repeater, which will place the block without changing any of the repeater timings, which we do not want to do. To test which orientation of the redstone torch tower you will be needing, go ahead and place a redstone torch right there, a redstone dust right there, a repeater right there, and then go ahead and make this torch tower, or this torch tower right here, and we're going to check the position of the rail right above here. So checking the second to last rail right here, because this is the one which is being powered by the torch, that one doesn't need one. Checking it right here reveals that it is facing this way, which is the direction that all of these guys need to be facing as well. A good way to remember that is it needs to be matching with the direction that the last one is facing, and it should all be going in this direction right here. Make sure that all of these are facing that direction. If that were facing the opposite direction, then we would simply fix it by putting a redstone torch right there and then one right there as well, which would give us the opposite effect up there. But in this orientation, we just need to place 1 redstone torch right there. Now go ahead and place your proper redstone torch placement all the way down the line like so. Go ahead and make sure that you have a redstone dust right here. And then what you're also going to do is place a redstone dust on top of each one of these solid blocks and a redstone torch like so. This formation will allow the railway system to detect when minecarts are sitting on top of it, which will unpower this system right here, and then allow the minecarts to be sent to the next one upon a successful return. Once you are done, feel free to leave this little cavern, as we are now done with it. The next thing that we are going to do, and it might be easier to get up here while doing this in survival, is we're going to place a little half moon of solid blocks like so, and a little piece of redstone dust right there, and then we are going to surround this redstone dust in solid blocks, like so. Take your button and place it right there. The next thing that we are going to want to do is we're going to want to place a little torch tower right here, with a redstone torch there, a block here, a redstone torch there, a block here, and then one more redstone torch right over there. And then we are also going to place a redstone torch right here. That way, when this button is pushed, that redstone torch will turn off. The next thing that you are going to do is place 3 solid blocks in a line right here. Finish off the top right here by placing a solid block right there, a solid block right here, 3 redstone dust right there, and a redstone repeater on 4 ticks right there. The next thing we are going to want to do is we're going to want to come down here, place a sticky piston like so, above all of these rail sections right here. You can use blocks or slabs. I'm using slabs here just because I like having that little extra headroom whenever I'm exiting the station. So go ahead and continue this line like so, making sure that these sticky pistons are above the railways like this. Once you get to the end, take your slabs, and you will need slabs for this part, and just place slabs on the bottom of all of your sticky pistons like so. This part will need to be slabs. It cannot be any other block. And place it right here as well. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to extend this redstone line all the way down the line right here. So we're going to run redstone dust over here, just making sure that there is 4 ticks of delay before every single piston like so. So after this little oddball spot right here, it's going to be redstone repeater on 4 ticks, 2 redstone dust, redstone repeater on 4 ticks, 2 redstone dust, and then that's just going to keep going all the way until we get to the end. You can also replace this redstone dust with solid blocks, and it will work just fine, but I found that it looks just more visually appealing if it's just redstone dust. But if you're short on redstone dust, this is a good way to save a little bit. Let's go ahead and finish the back right here just by placing a row of solid blocks all the way down the line like this. And then we can just make that match nice and evenly on the edge right here. The next thing we are going to want to do is grab a dispenser, try to squeeze in here and place a dispenser right there, and then place a solid block on top of it, like so. When you place the dispenser, you should hear a clicking sound because it's being activated by that torch right there. Place a sand right there, place a cactus on top of it. Once you have placed the cactus, it is a good idea to place string on top of it like so to prevent the cactus from going. If the cactus grows, it may get into the hopper system that we are about to set up for this dispenser right here. Go ahead and place 2 chests right here like so, a hopper facing into them, and then a hopper facing into the dispenser going from the chest right there. The next thing that we are going to need to do is extend this railway out here so that we can actually go forth and go to wherever the railroad station happens to be sending us. So we're going to place 1 powered rail right here, a powered rail going off of that one as well. Go ahead and place a rail right there, a rail right here as well, a rail in the middle between all 3 of these guys right here, and then another regular rail right there. You should end up with a pattern that looks something like this. Maybe this rail will attach to this, but we will worry about the formation in a second. Go ahead and take a line of powered rails on the right side, and just go all the way to the border right here. And that will be wherever the train gets sent off to, and you can just make this go wherever you want. I can make it go to that little building right there, off in the distance if I wanted to. On this side, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to place a powered rail like so, a detector rail, another powered rail, a regular rail, and then 2 powered rails like so. Extending from this regular rail right here, we are going to place a rail like this. Go ahead and break this rail so that it is connected to one of the other sides and not going straight. Place another detector rail right here, and a regular rail right here along the outline that we've created. 2 blocks away from this rail, so right here, we're going to place a solid block, and then we're going to go up 1 diagonally from it, and then we are going to do the same until we have a little staircase right here. We are then going to build 5 blocks out this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we are going to place the solid blocks right here and here. We are going to place solid blocks right here as well, and line them up like so. We're then going to break these solid blocks and replace everything right here with some double chests. Go ahead and break this solid block, place 2 hoppers facing into those chests, and then 2 hoppers right here facing into each of those hoppers like so. You will also need a solid block in front of the chest and above and diagonal to the hoppers right here. The next thing that we are going to do is connect the railway all the way up here, make a regular rail right there, and then turn, and we are going to end with 2 regular rails facing into this cactus. So take either a redstone torch or a lever, and just go around and make sure that all of your powered rails are powered. You can do it like this, or you can go underneath like this, and place a lever on the bottom of all of your powered rails, like so. You will need to go underneath and place a lever on these 2 guys right here. Be careful when mining over here because you might run into that guy right there, and be careful not to break him. To power the rest of these redstone rails right here, we are going to need to go back underneath the station, and we're going to place a lever or a power torch on each of these corners to the left of the upper slabs. Now, instead of a torch, you can place a lever right here as well, but make sure that when you place a lever, you are placing it on the top block like so. And you will need to break out 1 extra block right here just to power the top right there. Now all of your rails should be powered except for this guy right here. To power this rail at the end, I have simply gone underneath here and placed a lever at the bottom of this block right here. That should have all of your rails powered. Go ahead and make sure that they are. Oh, looks like we missed a few. Make sure that you are not powering the rails in a way that would turn off your hoppers. If you powered this from down here, it would lock both of those hoppers, and we do not want that to happen. Now, for a final touch on the railway, we need to make sure that this rail is facing that direction, so we need to go down here. And if your orientation is different, you may not need to do this, but just make sure that your rails look like this, with the railway swerving right here, and then being able to swerve left and then back into the station like so. Make sure that all of your rails are facing this way as well. We need to do this section right here, because as of right now, all of your minecarts just go up here and end up in this hopper system right here, and we want the train to go and land right in here. So what we need to do is we need to dig out an area right underneath here. Go ahead and dig out the 2 blocks underneath the detector rail. Place redstone dust on each of them like so, but make sure that it is not already powered like it is by this lever right here. So go ahead and move this lever, and we're just going to make it a redstone torch. And we're going to put it right here so that it does not mess with any of the other rails. Once you have this set up right here, dig this down one block further, place a redstone comparator right here, break out these two blocks, place out a redstone comparator right there, and place 3 more redstone dust in these locations. This will make sure that when a minecart is placed, the comparators are powered and they do not lose power immediately in either location. The next thing you're going to want to do is place a target block right there, break this block, and then place a redstone torch right there. Now, we once again need to check if this is the correct redstone torch orientation, and we do that by seeing which state this is in by default. Now, by default, we want to go this direction. I know this may seem counterintuitive, but the first minecart in the minecart train always needs to go this way. So what we need to do now is switch up this orientation so that the railway is facing the proper direction. Be careful not to block up this right here, as it will separate the 2 redstone dust right there, and they need to be together. Now let's go ahead and test this by placing a minecart right here, breaking it, and making sure this railway stays pointed that way for a little bit of time. Once that is working, go ahead and cover up the hole. The final thing that we need to do is grab a bunch of glass and go ahead and place all of this glass over each of the minecart holders, except for the first one. This will make sure that any mobs placed in them will not be able to target the player, and that they will not grief anything if they happen to be able to explode. This will prevent creepers and ghasts from destroying the rest of the station, as they will not be able to see out of these blocks. Now go ahead and place glass blocks in front of the solid blocks on top of the rails going too high. This will guarantee that any mobs going along the train will not see you as they ride, and also guarantees that they will not be able to target any bystanders who might happen to be in the station waving you goodbye. Go ahead and just place 1 layer of glass over every single rail from this point onwards. If you are not transporting mobs, or you are not worried about mobs targeting you, such as in peaceful mode, then you do not need to worry about this glass. However, in most situations, the glass will be very helpful. You do not need glass over this section, as the only thing going over here is the chest minecart leading the track. One of the final things that you will need to do to prepare your station is fill your dispenser with a bunch of chest minecarts. If you put them in the chest, that will work as well. Now, you will need a chest minecart here to start, so go ahead and break this redstone torch and then replace it down, and that will put a chest minecart, and then every time that chest minecart leaves the station, it will automatically be replaced with another one, so that you do not need to worry about manually replacing those yourself. There is now just one more thing that we need to do.